So you've got a houseplant, maybe a whole jungle's worth. And I bet you've bought one of those little gadgets to take the guesswork out of watering. But what if I told you that little moisture meter has been telling you a very, very convincing lie? I mean, this is the dream, right? A lush, thriving collection of happy green plants. But let's be real. For a lot of us, this is the reality. A drooping, sad-looking plant that just seems impossible to make happy, no matter what we do. You did everything you were supposed to. You went out, you got the tool that promised to make you a better plant parent, you stick it in the soil, you follow its advice, and yet you still end up with this. So the real question is, what is going on here? Okay, so to figure this out, we have to let you in on the meter's big secret. And trust me, once you know it, it's a total game changer for your plants.
It's a really simple secret, but man, it explains everything. It's the reason why so many of us, and I mean countless plant owners, are accidentally killing our plants with kindness.
Okay, here it is. It doesn't actually measure water. That's right. As one Reddit user pointed out, these things don't measure how wet something is. So what in the world is it measuring? Turns out it's actually a conductivity meter. It works by sending this tiny little electric current through the soil and then measuring how easily that current can travel. So if the current flows easily, you get a wet reading. If it struggles, you get a dry reading. Okay, so check this out. On the left, you've got pure water, which, surprise, isn't a great conductor of electricity. But look at the right. When you add stuff like fertilizer, all those dissolved salts and minerals, they act like a superhighway for the current. The soil suddenly becomes way more conductive. So if the meter is measuring conductivity and not water, well, that brings us to the real problem, which is that your potting soil is just packed with stuff that conducts electricity. I mean, just think about it for a second. You've got minerals from your tap water that build up over time. You're adding salts every single time you fertilize. The soil itself has its own natural mineral content. And get this, sources even point out that on cheaper meters, the metal probes can start to corrode, which just throws the readings even further off. And this chart right here just nails the point home. There was a scientific study back in 2008 that tested a bunch of these moisture probes. And you know what they found? When they added salt to the soil, pretty much all of them started to overestimate how much water was in there. The meter thinks the soil is wetter than it really is, just because the salt is making it more conductive. So it all spirals into this vicious cycle, right? Salts and minerals build up in your pot, and your meter gets more and more confused. It's screaming wet at you when the soil might actually be bone dry. And what do? You overwater and you risk root rot. Okay, but wait, don't go throwing your meter in the trash just yet. There is a way to make it a reliable tool. You just have to apply a little bit of science. So here's how you can basically outsmart your meter. You create your own baseline. First, you take a sample of your potting mix when it is completely, totally dry. That's your 0%. Then you test that same exact mix when it's fully saturated with water. I mean, soaking wet. That's your 100%. Boom. Now you have a true custom scale that works for your specific soil. You know, it's like horticultural engineer Dr. Lena Cho said, a meter isn't a diagnosis. It's a data point. And if that data isn't calibrated, it's just noise. By doing this, you're turning that random noise into useful, actionable information. Okay, but what if all that sounds like way too much work? Well, don't worry. There's another path. This one is totally free. It's always with you. And it's what the real pros trust. Yep, we are talking about your own finger. And this isn't just some backup plan. It's what actual horticulturists, the experts at places like the Royal Botanic Gardens, consider the gold standard for us homegrowers. It's all about building that plant intuition. And hey, there's even a method to it. The knuckle rule. For your smaller plants with shallow roots, just go one knuckle deep. For most of your standard houseplants, that second knuckle is going to be your sweet spot. And for those big, deep pots, you got to go all the way to the third knuckle to really feel what's happening down where the roots are. Think about it. A meter gives you one single piece of data, conductivity, but your finger, it gives you a whole data set. You can feel the coolness of damp soil, the grittiness of dry soil. You can feel the actual texture of the moisture. It gives you context that a machine just can't replicate. All right, so where does all this leave us? Well, it's really about understanding what you're working with. A moisture meter isn't telling you the absolute truth. It's just a tool. So in the end, you've got two really solid options. A calibrated meter, it can give you a fantastic data point, especially if you like consistency. But the finger test, it really is the gold standard. It costs nothing. It works on any plant. And this is the most important part. It actually teaches you to understand what your plants are trying to tell you. And all of this leaves us with one final thought. In our world that's just full of smart sensors and high-tech gadgets, is it possible that the best, most reliable piece of plant care tech has been right at our fingertips the whole time?